Hello, this is Greg Smalley on Pod 366, a weird movies podcast, joined as I often am by the counterintuitive Giles Edwards.
Hello.
Uh, Counterintuitive to me, probably completely intuitive to you, but we both let's adjust our glasses so that
Yes.
we need some. I do need some sort of glasses design that will prevent my monitor from being reflected,
Oh, yeah. Well, I imagine, let's see,
which
I
you
think
have
there,
as well. And I don't know of any
uh,
I don't know of any solution to that. Maybe proper lighting.
yeah, better lighting, or I wouldn't be surprised if there were a nice, expensive,
Lenses.
super glass option that,
Uh, Well, we have six items today to discuss, most of which are from upcoming films, not current, most not current releases. First, Giles, do you have anything you'd like to plug?
why, yes. As we've mentioned in the past, I'm involved in an art group, audio-visual art group, mostly audio at this point, although our Penguin Pete is exploring animation as we speak. This is I'm referring specifically to the Dead Oaks Mall anthology series, which is a speculative fiction universe set in an afterlife, infinitely large mall setting. And yesterday, I released the latest narrative from that, and it's based on a story. It's read from a story written by you. So
Oh,
we'll have to have a hyper nepotism corner link.
yeah,
Uh,
the nepotism corner link is going to be very busy. Yeah.
um, so that is looking for Duke, I think was the title.
Yes,
Yes.
I have to say your reading when I just submitted the story and said do what you want with it, and I thought your reading was actually perfect. You hit every accent just the way I would have hoped for and expected, and made it sound much better than it is. And also there was some nice music there in the beginning. Is the music written, taken from like a library of that Ignore That Door
I
stuff?
do have an access to such a library. That music, very small samples looped from random things I've got kicking around my hard drive.
Oh, okay.
But as for the reading, as I like to tell people I've narrated for, I read it as I see it written. So
Okay. Okay, so enough nepotism for now. I'll probably include a link to that, and you can check out all the Dead Oaks things, which I think there are about six
yeah,
total
we've hit
of them.
six now, and we're open to pretty much all submissions because
Open to submission. Submissions are open. Um, but let's discuss movies more
yes.
specifically. Three, four, five, six upcoming movies. And Giles, what do you see something on the screen? Can you see?
Yeah, I see a couple publicity shots of young acting types. I believe I'll just let's see. We got blonde young woman acting type and scruffy brown-haired youngish man acting type. And rumor has it, or it might be more than rumor, that the likes of Sydney Sweeney and Edgar Wright are going to make an appearance together soon.
Yeah, except Edgar Wright, of course, is not an acting type. He's a
Oh,
director.
excuse me. Oh, I should have guessed from the black. Yeah, yeah.
As he's although I guess he's handsome enough to be an actor.
Yeah, I could. He looks like he could be a character actor, which I
Character.
guess as a so at least as an everyman.
Yeah, so the idea here is I don't know whether it's appealing or not. I'm saying I'm going with not, and win me over, Edgar Wright, with this idea of a reboot of Barbarella, the, of course, campy 1968 movie Probably made Jane Fonda the biggest sex symbol in the world at the time. Uh, and I so and then there was the Vietnam scandal followed shortly thereafter
Oh
for
yeah,
her.
that's right. Hanoi Jane,
Uh,
as we all remember.
so it might be cursed for Sydney Sweeney. She might then become Palestine's Sydney, or
It doesn't
Hamas
quite.
Sydney.
Yeah. Well, anyway, well, I'm sure detractors will find something that rolls off the tongue there.
Well,
Looking. Oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, looking at Edgar Wright's filmography, I guess I'm gonna say I'm cautiously optimistic because the guy has a pretty firm grip on comedy and does explore eccentric things separately. Certainly, helming a Sparks band documentary is in his favor as far as I'm concerned, and of course, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, Hot Fuzz, and those two alone, and I don't know. I don't know anything about Last Night in Soho, his latest, but
Well,
uh,
he's that's his latest movies have gone away from comedy, which is one thing that's
uh,
perhaps a little, I don't know if it's concerning, but I mean, I guess it's refreshing that he would be returning to comedy. I hope this isn't like a gritty, serious remake. Maybe, although maybe that would be a good idea. Instead of going for a campy comedy, go for a gritty, serious.
yeah, well, it's a dystopian premise, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, it's
sort
yeah,
of.
it's I mean, if they follow the comic books, it's just going to be silly.
Yeah.
Sydney Sweeney, of course, very hot right now and has certainly the figure to fill out those Barbarella costumes, and this should be a costumer's delight like the original was, hopefully.
That's true. I guess I might have better remarks once we find out who the head of the costuming department is, because
Yeah, that's gonna sell it. It's all costuming. So a possible Barbarella, they're in talks. It would be down the road because both Sweeney and Wright have a project in between it, so it probably no more than 2 years out, but something we'll be watching for in the future. Something else that's probably a bit in the future. What do you see here, Giles? If you could possibly.
well, all right. I'll just briefly describe the gentleman, human photographic. This is a photograph. Human gentleman, bearded, great, stately academic beard, combed back, thinning hair, and a T-shirt that says "I work with my hands." And what is he doing with his hands? Why, he's working on something that looks like a massive jumble of circuit boards and wires and pokey things, a few organic touches littered around the top and side, some green motif going on here, but a real clutter of, I don't know, maybe semi decomposed human tech debris. And he has doubtless crafted this, probably with the help of his little studio, because he is working on a new project, having done rather well, I'd say, with his own personal feature film debut after decades of working in the special effects biz.
And his name is Phil Tippet, and so he has announced a new project. Not really don't have much detail on how far he's gotten in it. I assume it's at least through the script stage, and he started since there are some photographs of him working in his lab. I assume that's what he's working on. We do have a title, The Sentinel, and we have a at least hint of a synopsis, which is that it's a death dream of a WW1 soldier, I think, dying in a trench, perhaps, and imagining. So he said he was inspired by an occurrence at Albridge Creek, which was
Owl Creek Bridge.
uh, famously made as a Twilight Zone episode. He sort of is careful in this interview he did for, I believe it was Variety.
Yep.
Variety, to say that it would both both be something recognizable for audiences as opposed to Mad God, and would have enough craziness to perhaps appeal to those of us who are fans of Mad God. I think he was trying to toe the line there, or thread the needle between that not alienating people who want something more mainstream and comprehensible, and not alienating people who are fans of Mad God. He
Yeah.
also, is promising that he's going to get it done quicker than 30 years.
My thought there with the shall we say more mainstream narrative through line is this looks like it's more planned as opposed to an intermittent side project over 3 decades that eventually got, I think, very well gelled together. But it is it's fairly clear with Mad God which of those chunks, each of them happened kind of separately. So I think that well, let me put it this way. I'm not worried about this being too mainstream because Phil Tippett, this is going to be a big project for him. He's an older gentleman and he is well respected within his field. So I suspect he'll be given about as much leeway as might be hoped for. So,
And where this project is right now in development is in fundraising. He is at Cannes right now, trying to get people to pour money, as much money as they possibly can, into this, so he can make what will almost certainly be his last film, because I believe he's in his late 70s or early 80s. I don't know. Do you know his exact age?
I can find out in a moment. Yeah, late 70s, early 80s rings true. When we are okay, 1951, so 49, 60, all right, so mid 70s.
Mid 70s.
Mid 70s.
But at any rate, I think
Maybe.
he's trying to get one more, out, one more big one out, before his career is over. And I have much higher hopes for this one, honestly, than I do for the Barbarella remake.
Oh, well, that could go without saying. Yes. I
But
mean, not to say Edgar Wright is no Phil Tippett, but I can't even think to compare them.
they are just, total different artists.
Yeah.
Tippett, not really known as a director. He's directed one feature film, so, but very much known as a visual stylist and animator. Okay, something else. This one has been completed, at least. You want to describe as best you can what you see, Giles.
Sure. All right. In front of a clouded gray, almost scrim-looking object suspended in the background, there is a table set for three. In the center chair facing the camera is a young woman with some long brunette hair, a bang haircut due, and a kind of drab, uniformy looking gray shirt on. And she's looking somewhat quizzically at the entity to her left, which is a stick figure of sorts made up of lengths of wood. Done in the very rough form of a human body with some artificial hands, it looks like wedged on the ends, and on top of it, a fairly realistic looking but not at all alive head with some crazy curly hair sticking out, glasses and a beard, eyes closed because it's either not activated or not awake, hard to say. On her right, at the third chair of the table, is a somewhat less fully constructed body of bits of wood. You can see some string activating the wrist of this person, who also has a fake head with a kind of mop top, Lincoln style beard going into goatee, and with his eyes closed, probably because he's not awake either. And she seems to be looking very naturally in this scene at these two very obviously artificial constructs.
Yes, and this is, do you know what this is? I'm sure.
I will once I remind myself of the title. Ah, yes.
The
The
Hyperborean.
Hyperboreans, or Los Hyperboreos.
Yeah, I think actually, it may be in French. Did you see the trailer?
I did see the trailer.
For some reason, I thought the trailer was in French, which is unnatural, but it probably
It
Probably,
sounded like Spanish pronunciation to me,
probably
but
so.
I'd be lying if I said I was paying too close attention to the narrator.
Right. So this is from the people who brought us the apocryphally weird, and only because it arrived too late to be considered for the actual list, The Wolf House.
Yeah.
Joaquin Cocina, and Cristobal Leon, a pair of stop motion, mostly animators, who also did the animated sequences in Beau is
Mm.
Afraid. And this one, the plot, okay, I think this is a bit of a put on plot, sort of like The Wolf House was, but the idea is that this actress is playing herself, but she's an actress slash psychologist,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
she hires these two directors to film a script which she has developed from things that have been told to her by one of her patients, which would be, if true, an obvious ethical problem, which is why I think that the whole thing's a put on. But that is, they are presenting it as if it is, sort of a documentary basis for it. And the trailer looks wild. It's not
Yeah.
quite the style of the Wolf House. There's much more live action in it. Um, but it's definitely wild. And there is also a Nazi twist to
Yeah,
it at the end.
yeah, yes. I was reading when I was reading the Variety article. So-and-so actress and psychologist whose tortured patient is overwhelmed by the voices of a long dead Nazi puh. And I kind of stopped reading for that split second and thought, ooh, Nazi puppet, because
All right.
and this before fully realizing what was going on in the trailer is last time I saw Nazi and puh was puppet in Hitler, a film for Germany. But no, it's Nazi poet, which is also interesting. And so, and
Yes.
there, yeah, certainly are puppet things in this movie.
Follow the link to the distributor site and watch that trailer because it is pretty wild. And I do have a lot of hope for this one. I don't think Cocina and Leon can let us down.
Yeah, they've got a pretty high floor of quality and strangeness.
Yeah, it's only their second feature though, so um, we shall see. But yes, we're very excited about this one, the Hyperboreans, we're going to call it using English pronunciation. Moving along, another one that is debuting in Cannes very soon. I'm not sure the exact date since I'm there, not there. It doesn't matter to me what exact date they premiere it. But they've been quite busy. Francis Ford Coppola has been quite busy releasing promotional material. So last week with Penguin Pete, we discussed a teaser scene that had been released. And this week, well, first off, Giles, we know it's Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis with Adam Driver, but if you just want to describe the promotional still before we get into the trailer reaction.
Sure, the promotional still tells me from the get-go that this motion picture is rated R because I see Mr. Driver holding a cigarette.
Yeah.
Shame. Anyhow, he and the young lady, both looking rather fetching in their unique ways, are dressed in a very high empire style, contemporary empire, but standing in front of a very bleak-looking city backdrop with, I think, looks like a tilty statue that was probably knocked down by some malcontents. And so this is a Twilight piece, both presumably for the director as well as for the society that this is a fable based for upon, whatever the preposition is.
And now
Um,
we've been discussing Megalopolis forever, it seems now. So I can't wait till it finally comes out and we're all terribly disappointed, or we say it's one of those rare things that actually lived up to the hype. And it's mainly hype that we're giving it. Although I do see a lot of people are online are very, very interested in this one. And Coppola is doing a lot of interviews, uh, giving a lot of stories while at the same time kind of keeping most of the plot fairly secretive. I don't think anybody, like I said last week, I uh, talked to somebody online who had worked on the film who said they couldn't share any details yet about the film. Uh, but we're hoping to have someone on to share who had a small role in the film to share some
Yeah.
once this actually
Yeah, hold
comes.
us over at least till we get Coppola on the
Yeah,
podcast, which I'm sure
yeah,
just a
Coppola will
little
be.
elbow grease on our part. We can do that. Yes, actually, what was the teaser scene was what, about a minute and a half long, I think, and
So,
just
so Giles, you weren't on for the teaser scene. Did you have any comments on the scene
oh
before?
yeah, yeah, I've seen it.
Okay.
And it definitely intrigued me. But yeah, speaking of strong reactions, someone I know on the social media posted this scene and apparently already hated the movie from that 90-second clip that they saw. And I thought, well,
The
that's too
clip
bad.
is just Adam Driver walking out on a skyscraper and kind of leaning over and stopping time before he falls. And so I've ruined it for anybody who hasn't seen the screen. But now we have a more of a legitimate trailer out. So did you see the trailer,
I
John?
did, and it made me very excited because it had a whole lot of classiness and excess and moving shapes and top tier actors very obviously in the zone. So I'm gonna upgrade my cautious optimism to actual optimism for Megalopolis because that the 90 seconds or so of trailer hit everything I'm looking for in a massive movie.
And it hit. There's a walking Statue of Liberty, is there
Yeah,
not?
yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff going on.
So
So
it's New York, but it's also kind of ancient Rome at the same time.
yeah.
Let's see, what else do we have in it? Lot of Adam Driver, lot of Adam Driver climbing out on stuff. Um,
Well, he is ex-military, so he's really good at that.
is he ex-military in real life, or
I believe so.
I did not
I
know that.
should know better because I certainly know any number of Adam Driver enthusiasts. Yeah, enlisted in the Marines
Oh, I did not know that.
after the 9/11 attacks. I guess he signed up and served for 2 years.
Okay. And did you happen to check out the related article from review he did from The Guardian
Oh, of Megalopolis?
about Francis? Yes.
Uh,
Uh, it's entitled, Has This Guy Ever Made a Movie Before?
oh,
Francis
snap.
Ford Coppola's 40-year
Oh yeah, I see that
Megalopolis.
title right here.
Quote being from, I'm not sure if the quote was from like an extra or who worked on it or a distributor, but yeah, a lot of comparisons to Apocalypse Now and the sort of chaos that surrounded that production. More
Yeah.
reports of money being wasted, crew members quitting, Coppola being difficult. Other people say none of that's true. Some say he spent most of his time smoking pot in his own trailer instead of directing. And it's all kind of, I think, being put out there to create buzz. It all sounds, the stuff they're releasing about how crazy the movie set was, I think is being purposefully leaked to try to get it that Apocalypse Now
Yeah, and
feeling.
yeah,
And
there,
yeah,
yeah.
there's probably, I mean, I'm sure Coppola is very eccentric even in his old age too. But I think some of this stuff might be being exaggerated on purpose because it
Mm.
worked before. But that's just me being a cynic, I think.
Well, judging exclusively from the clip and the trailer, I feel good about this film's prospects. And yes, as crazy as stuff gets on certain people's sets more than others, when you look at Apocalypse Now, which let's just presume even half the stuff that we know is true to be true, that didn't come out adversely affecting the quality of the movie. So
there was a Hearts of Darkness documentary about the
yeah.
making of Apocalypse Now. So it would be really cool. And I imagine Coppola would have thought of this, of having a contemporaneously filmed documentary about the making of Megalopolis.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
Maybe
surprised if
something,
we hear about it for the physical media release.
maybe something to look for, because a lot of people like the documentary almost as much as the original movie. Let's move on, however. Giles, describe this.
I shall. We're looking at, well, let me describe the backdrop again. We got cloudy blue this time instead of the earlier image with cloudy gray. And to our left, we see a kind of hexagonal shaped country with a bunch of luminescent dots and numbers. This hexagon is known to those who have ever taken geography as France. And I'm guessing it's a span of temperature readings, although considering their love affair with centigrade, it's looking really, really warm in that country all over. And of course, though, to calm everything down and let us know it's going to be all right is, I'm going to guess, the weather woman, who is standing there in with a neat little up bob kind of thing that flows down into some long shoulder length hair, very approachable, full cheeks in a halfway smile, holding her hands clasped in front of her, the cream colored uh, suit jacket thing with some nice bold black diagonals interrupting symmetrically. And whatever news she's about to deliver, it may be terrible, but she'll sound like it's okay.
And a little bit of cleavage.
Oh, well, yes.
So in the highlighted city, which is a city on, which would be a city on the border of
Italy.
Italy, the temperature reading is 61 Celsius, which, if I am not correct, is about 100, if I'm not incorrect, is about 140 Fahrenheit would be the temperature.
Yep, that's right.
So
Wow.
this is from the movie Coma by Ber, Bernard
Bertrand.
Bertrand Bonello, who is very busy right now because he also has The Beast, or Beast, I think it's just called
Oh, yes, the non-horse movie.
now. And I believe this one might have been made before Beast and is getting a US release after Beast, because it is copyrighted 2022.
Oh,
And
yeah. That
pretty
certainly
much
happened.
the what we know about it, it's a sequestered 18-year-old girl. Don't know if she's sequestered because it's too hot to go outside, but maybe that's a good possibility. Starts losing her grip on reality as she watches a vlogger named Patricia Coma, and the movie's name is Coma. You watch the trailer, which I don't think Giles was able to, and you'll see that it flips around between live action, animated sequences, and stop motion animated sequences done with Barbie dolls.
Yeah.
And that is Coma, coming out very soon.
Yes, described by the
Um,
International Cinephile Society as, quote, a neo-Lynchian slow burn masterpiece. And I look forward to the day, hopefully I'll live long enough, that we'll have moved on from the modifier Lynch, because I consider him to be incredibly talented and very much worth cinema's time. But by golly, I guess it's the field that I'm working in that I see Lynch every other film reaction.
Well, now that is hilarious, Giles, because I almost forgot to mention the International Cinephile Society's quote, um, but which I had intended to highlight. And my take on it was going to be, I actually think it's a little early to say we've moved into neo-Lynchianism.
Hmm.
I think we're still firmly within Lynchianism.
That's true, and we need to get post-Lynchian before we can do neo-Lynchian. So this
Yeah,
must
yeah,
be
that's
very cutting edge.
exactly it. You can't go to neo-Lynchian before we've done post-Lynchian.
Yeah, yeah.
But it is from the International Cinephile Society, which I do not belong to. So I, if I belonged to them, I would object to that phrasing. But Yeah. That's Coma, which hopefully you can see in a theater somewhere near you, but probably you're going to have to wait till it comes out on VOD or physical media, which is dying, except for certain cult
Except for
movies.
Steelbook 4K. Well, it might not be Steelbook, but it's certainly 4K.
Yeah, certain cult movies that get their physical media day in the sun. And that is our last item on today's agenda. Giles, would you kindly describe the
Yes, well, I'm describing a 4K Ultra HD Blue and Blu-ray case here. So we've got the spine with what it's doing, which is mimicking the front. I'll mention the font of the title, which is very reminiscent of German expressionistic intertitles and otherwise graphic texts for them people who are heavily influenced by, I don't know, the Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. So these wonderful jagged letters that are kind of vibrant, not quite friendly because they also look very sinister. Centered in this cover is a spinning globe we can see from the little action wisp spirals that also seems to be spewing out pieces of itself into the cosmos. Below it, you can see sneaking up from the bottom right-hand corner another planet in our solar system. I'll give you a hint. It's really, really big and has a feature that looks to us from a distance kind of like a giant eye. But holding this globe up is not a gloved hand. It's just a very white hand with painted fingernails with a frilly little cuff before we see a sleeve of a soft red and various little stars. Very clown-esque, I would say, especially since that ties in nicely with the spatter of the earth and the fact that this clown in outer space is from there.
Yes, so and that gives away the title. The uh log line on the cover, the promo line is alien bozos with an appetite for close encounters, and it's killer clowns from outer space, a very popular cult cult with a K, about basically alien clowns invading from
Well, I
outer
think they're.
space.
I think it's. Yeah, I think not to say that this should be clarified too much, but I believe they're aliens who happen to look like clowns.
Good point. Good point. And
If
happen to have a spaceship that looks like a big top
and happen to have weaponry associated with carnivals.
right and popcorn and stuff. Have you seen Killer Clown?
I have. It's a very cute movie. I had fun with it and the various shall we say explorations of the options of murderous monster types with the carnival clown circus veneer. It didn't overstay its welcome, which isn't nothing.
Fair enough. One of the first titles that people started recommending when I opened the site was, everybody in the suggestion box was, you got to check out Killer Clowns from Outer Space. I checked it out, and as you say, it's a cute movie, it's a fun movie, short movie, weird movie. I don't know so much. Definitely a culty movie,
Oh yeah.
definitely a fun movie. Some of the creature designs, I guess, are a bit uncanny in their clownness. And for people who suffer from just a slightest touch of chlorophobia, is that how you pronounce it?
Hmm.
Chlorophobia?
Oh,
Of clowns.
I'd have to.
It might be a horror movie because the clowns are rather sinister looking.
Coulrophobia.
Chlorophobia.
Coulro phobia.
Okay. So cholero-phobics, beware, but you probably know if you're watching something called Killer Clowns, that it's gonna have some scary
Yeah, the
clowns in it.
warning's in the first two words there.
Yeah, but although I should point out the clowns is spelled with a K, so
Hmm.
you might be fooled. You might think this is just a word that is just a homonym of the clowns I'm scared of, but no, they really are the clowns you're scared of. So.
Yeah.
And so that seems to be it. We've done a record speed we've gotten through. I would like to mention that this is our 69th episode. Celebrate the 69th episode for all the 12-year-old boys out there in the audience.
You should feel free to like, subscribe, and watch or listen to episodes all the way through as often as possible.
But listen to 69 over and over. All right. And Giles, unless you have any other closing words.
I mean, I wouldn't want to supersede great advice like that, so I'm all set for this podcast.
Okay. Well, listen to the Dead Oaks Mall recording stuff. Buy yourself a copy of Killer Klowns from Outer Space and wait for all those movies we talked about, which you can't yet see, but hopefully soon we'll be able to. And we will see you again next week.